exactly as I remembered it. The overwhelming grandeur of the mountains, their ability to make you feel diminutive, irrelevant. The unfriendly barrenness that can claw at your sense of well-being. And yet, the majestic beauty of it all. This could be the summer of 1999 all over again, except it's 10 years on and Kargil is no longer a battlefield. Driving down the twisty, narrow highway along which the war had erupted, ironically, it's peace that feels like a stranger, or maybe a new friend. It's the sound of the silence that at first seems surreal to those of us whose memories are seared by other sounds.
What you heard just now were Boffa's guns directly firing right on top of Tiger Hills.
The memories come up in waves, fast, furious, unstoppable. In some ways, this is a journey I've been scared of taking all these years. The body bags, the sight of grown men weeping. The friends I made and lost. The pounding of artillery shells. The racing of the heart. And the intensity of running for life and escaping from death. The memories all seemed too daunting to face. Maybe in a sense it was so overwhelming and so large that we stored a part of our memories into some kind of cold storage, thinking that one day we would open the big refrigerator and draw the memories out and try and make sense of it. But as time went on, somewhere the memories just felt raw but safe in that cold storage. But today, I can see them so vividly. The soldiers I met a decade ago. The soldiers who changed forever how India looks at its army.
My company's success के was Yeh Dil Maange More.
Vikram Batra, the 24-year-old whose daredevilry defined his death.
If we don't perform now, function now, then our whole existence cannot be justified.
Vishal Batra, quietly philosophical and calm as guns boomed and shells fell.
So that was a big challenge for us, but we had to do it and we did it.
And Vijay Joshi, whose leadership caught the imagination of a nation and inspired a spate of Hindi films. Three among the many brave hearts who are going to be part of our journey of remembrance, fellow travelers on a pilgrimage of sorts. But first, it's going to be several hours on the road, on the highway we used to call the highway of death. Today, cars and trucks literally sail along the vast stretches of openness that connect Leh to Srinagar. But back then, this road was the epicenter of the war.
Other side.
Pakistani intruders held positions that looked down directly at 160 kilometers off the road. They could bomb the highway at will, potentially snapping off contact with the rest of India and also breaking the supply lines of food and kerosene. That summer, 10 years ago, this was a journey for only the brave and the foolhardy.
We all had a terrible fright right now. There was this big booming sound. We sort of all scrambled for the nearest place to hide, and I was hiding behind this wheel, and 141 Field Regiment very kindly provided me this helmet, so I'm still alive. call again. Just tell them to record it right now.
That satellite phone. It was our most precious possession. What would we have done without it? The irony of what came to be called India's first television war is that it unfolded at a time when there were no mobile phones and no satellite uplinks to beam pictures back to Delhi. I remember how desperate we were to ferry information and tapes back to headquarters. It was almost a battle in itself.
Hello? Hello? Hello, listen, Shivnath, I'm calling from a bunker. I can't speak. Quickly take down the details.
Today, as I watch Vishal Batra, Vikram Batra's identical twin brother, reach out for the inbuilt camera in his mobile phone, hungry for every bit of grass and stone that connects him to Vikram, I think of how much has changed.
हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक है हाँ हाँ सब ठीक है बिल्कुल सब कुछ घबराने की कोई गल नहीं सब ठीक है
Those days, a phone call back home was a luxury. In Dras, there was just that one solitary STD phone booth. Up in the forward posts, of course, handwritten letters were the only option. Trembling from the cold and the chilling remembrance of those fateful years, Vishal tells me how 10 years later it kills him with pain that he could not even speak to his brother in his last days, and he waited too long to write back.
That's one thing which haunts me sometimes, that during the entire 4 months, I couldn't speak to him because I didn't have a mobile during those days. But the best thing was that he was writing to me and I was not responding him back. So, he wrote me second letter. I got his third letter. In third letter, he written ki, Kush, I am, getting all my letters. Don't be under the impression that if you write me back, I'll not get the letter. So I felt very bad. So I thought, let me write him right away. So I wrote him a letter at 11 o'clock in the midnight and went down to the Gold Dakhana, posted the letter there. And after that, unfortunately, this news came. I got very, very upset. It really hit me harder. मैंने एक लेटर उसको लिखा और उसको वो भी नहीं मिला. So I was on a chutti for a month. I went back to Palampur. After a month, I rejoined. So one of my colleagues gave me a letter. There's a Vishal, there's a letter from my brother. And when I opened that letter, he got the letter. And the first line was, Dear Kush, it was amazing to get a letter.
This is Vishal's first trip to the mountains that took his brother's life. A private banker who once dreamt of being in the forge, he lived the soldier's life vicariously instead through his brother Vikram, or Love and Kush as their parents called them. Today with us, he's ravenous for details, smiling, excited, proud, and in quiet, withheld pain. He wants to know everything about how we met Vikram Batra. It was a quiet moonlit night in Mushko Valley. There had just been a significant breakthrough in the war. A major peak, .5140, had just been victoriously reclaimed. So, the soldiers were jubilant. They were unwinding, laughing over a dog-eared issue of an old cosmopolitan magazine. We forget sometimes, don't we, how young they were. Vikram was all of 24, but he was the one with the josh, the swashbuckler, brimming with pride at a job well done. You couldn't tell that he had just spent an arduous night braving bullets and enemy fire, climbing up through the deep, dark veil of the night.
But still, the battle was over.
But tell me, before you actually took over the peak, when at the difficult stages, how did you all boost each other's morale? Like, what did you keep telling each other?
It was like that in case we would have stopped at any point of time. we knew that we would have been the pinpoint target for them. Either we would have been there or they would have been there. And while we were advancing, they intercepted they were on the same frequency which were we on our radio sets. And one of the Pakistani soldiers or officer, whosoever it was, he said me, my code name was Shersha. Oh Shersha, you have come. Don't try to come up, otherwise you'll have a tough time. And that was the time they gave us a challenge. And my guys, they went wild. Okay, how dare a Pakistani troop can challenge us? The guys were angry. They were yelling that we guys are going to have them. And that was the thing, that was the spirit.
So everyone got ready.
Everyone was highly charged. There was no looking back, sir.
Words of confidence that would soon prove to be horribly, horribly misplaced. Sitting on Sando Top, a base camp from where countless assaults had been launched, it's difficult to look at Vishal without feeling a little shiver down my spine. He's the spitting image of his brother, and suddenly, 10 years ago, feels like yesterday.
When you were driving up, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, the terrain is so tough. I'm driving in a car. Probably I know the road is not that great. And, I was actually figuring out that when the war was actually happening, I was thinking that how these people would have managed to go such a steep on the foot. And that too with the risk of, the enemy shelling coming right from the top. And you never know when a, bullet or a splinter hits you and you know more there.
But how are you able to deal with it in so calm a way? Because he was your twin brother. If to lose a brother, of course, is a tragedy. To lose a twin is like losing a part of yourself. You were telling me earlier that you still have his photograph.
See, I tell you, physically I don't have him, yes. The presence haunts. I cry sometimes, that, had it been that he would have been alive, I'm sure that he would have been a major by now, where, could be that he would be on the cards for his staff college. The life would have been different. The life is different now also because I don't have him physical with me, and there are a lot of things which generally I'm not able to share with somebody else, which I could have shared with him. But, when I look at him, that at such a young age of 24, he could do such great things. Looking at his photographs keeps my motivation up. I have his photograph in my house. Anyhow, my house is full of his photographs, in fact. And there's not even a single day when I don't salute him. Not even a single day in my life.
Every day.
Every day.
We sit and stare at the sky and feel that Vikram can also hear us. We talk about their childhood home in Palampur, in hills much gentler than these ones, where a mother copes with death by remembering the spirit of her son.
वो लड़ाई के बीच में तो ऐसा लगता था कि जैसे कि कोई क्रिकेटर जो है वो अपना छक्के मार रहा और जीत हासिल करना चाहता हो, उसको कोई ऐसा था ही नहीं कि वो दुश्मनों से लड़ रहा है या घुसपैठियों से लड़ रहा है। उसने तो एक मतलब ठान ली थी कि मैंने जो करना है सो करना है, चाहे मेरी जान ही क्यों ना चले जाए, फिर मैंने करके ही रहना।
Where a father hides his grief behind the enormous cloak of pride.
एक बार वो एक रेस्टोरेंट में अपने दोस्त के साथ बैठ के कॉफ़ी पी रहे थे, वो लोकल ही है उनका दोस्त, तो उससे बातचीत चल रही थी। कारगिल वार तकरीबन स्टार्ट होने जा रही थी, उस वक्त कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहे थे, तो उनके दोस्त ने कहा कि विक्की अब वार लगने वाली है, आप थोड़े सतर्क रहना। ही डिड सेड इट इन जस्ट कमेंटिंग वे कि, तो इनका जवाब था कि आप चिंता मत करो, मैं या तो दुश्मन की पोस्ट पर झंडा लहरा करके आऊँगा और या फिर मैं झंडे में लिपट करके वापस आऊँगा। लेकिन आज याद आता है कि उन्होंने अपनी दोनों ही बातें फुलफिल कर दी।
We stare straight ahead at Batra Top. During the war, it was known as Point 475. Now, its peak is named after Vikram. The memory of Vikram's last words pound my mind. He was just back from victory and heading to death, except he didn't know it that night.
It was like we have done it. Like we were on the top of the world. It was a great feeling to have since all the troops, like we guys, I can say we were lucky enough to have such a war-like scenario on very early stage of our career. And all the guys were very happy because we didn't lose even a single chap of ours. Immediately after we charged, we concentrated and we encircled the entire area, and we carried the specific search from bunker to bunker. And finally we saw that we've captured a lot of arms and ammunition, and only 2 to 3 chaps of our who had got hurt, but there was no fatal casualty. That was the best part. And we had already decided our success signal before advancing for the attack, and it was like Bravo Company's success signal, "Oh yeah, yeah," and which was passed to our CO Colonel Joshi on the radio set. And after the another bunker was captured, my company's success signal was "Yeh Dil Maange More, Dil Maange More, Dil Maange More, Dil Maange More."
Yeh Dil Maange More, Vikram took an advertising slogan and elevated it into a motto for life. There's one man who knows Vikram was at least part of the reason that the bugles were able to sound the victory call. The man who was his commanding officer during the war, Colonel Joshi. As he takes salute today at the War Memorial in Dras, his daughter Ishita stands by him. She was just 7 when the war unfolded on the television screen at home. Today at 17, she is here to understand better the brush with death her father faced. We drive up with father and daughter to Umbala Pass, from where you can look down at the green meadows once ravaged by gunfire and at all the forward posts once held by Pakistani intruders.
You were like 7 years old when the Kargil war happened?
I was 7 and I was very small. I used to watch him on television and I used to know what was happening because of the tension in the house.
There was a lot of tension?
Yeah.
You have memories of a lot of tension, of your mom worrying a lot?
Yeah.
But you were quite small and quite young. So do you remember anything of that time? Do you remember what you saw on TV? Or do you remember that feeling of fear or, that tension you were talking about? What do you remember from those years?
First time I was sleeping and then the TV was on. So I watched someone speaking. So my mom said that he's your father. So I recognized him. So it was really, he had the beard thing.
Let us be identified by the enemy. Enough for them to get hold of these guys. Important feature, as you can see for yourself.
That beard thing is how we remember Colonel Joshi too. That and the sound of explosions that punctuated his sense of disbelief and relief that his boys had actually pulled it off.
As you can see for yourself, the features are formidable that one can never imagine. Even when I look myself now towards it, I feel, how difficult the task would have been. Have I really done it? So difficult.
A decade later, Colonel Joshi must explain the brutality of war and the valor of soldiers to his teenage daughter. A daughter whose memories he had to temporarily erase from his mind while walking up rugged rock, lugging 25 kilos on his back, ducking bullets and finding his way in the dark.
But how do you deal with that? Because one thing is to keep your family from worrying, but one thing is to not think about that when you're up there.
Yeah, when you're up here, your battalion is your family. You think about that. You think about, your boys. And that's what on your mind. You think about the enemy. You think about that feature where you're going in. That's what on your mind. You just don't think about the family. It can't come in between, there's a clash. If I think about that, then I can't do this. That's how it has to be.
But even the most hard-boiled of men cannot shake off some experiences. Vikram Batra died during his operation, and then Colonel Joshi watched stunned as a bullet went straight through the head of the young man operating his rocket launcher.
has it been a difficult memory to live with all these years? Because sometimes what happens with difficult memories is, at least I don't know if it happens to you, but it happens to me, you store them away somewhere and you don't want to think about it. You just block them out. Yeah. So did you find yourself doing that over these 10 years, like blocking out your memories?
Not exactly blocking out, but yeah, whatever happened has changed my outlook towards life.
Like how?
When you see, like we're sitting here, I still remember very clearly Ranbir last night, rocket launcher he was firing. I was talking to him, and I was just talking to him and telling him to move, to take a position, and he got a bullet here, and he, just fell down and died right in front of my eyes.
And you saw that bullet going through his head?
I saw that happening. You don't see a bullet going in, but suddenly I was talking to him, and he fell down. Then I saw a hole here. How can I forget that? You don't talk about it, but the thing that keep so vivid in your mind, keep coming in and again. You feel very sad. You lost a lot of people.
How have you dealt with the memories all these years? Like you've said, it's something that changed you. What did you find the change in you to be? When you say change your outlook towards life?
Yeah, more mature. You don't get, you don't flap about small things. What do you call, materialistic things and other issues which give you small things, give you happiness. You tend to leave them aside.
So it teaches you what really matters in life.
Yeah, exactly. Life is short. You never know what may happen next moment. That is what we saw happening here.
They say actually only a soldier can understand what a war is really about. Yeah. And that's why they say that soldiers, although like you have that sense of victory and being victorious in these treacherous mountains, only a soldier has that sense of why peace is so important.
Yeah.
So did you find yourself thinking about things like that a lot in the last?
Yeah, peace of course is very important, but the irony is that to have peace, you need to prepare for war.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. You have to be strong militarily.
Kargil, I think, taught me that so many of my assumptions about conflict, war, the army was simplistic. Often, they were downright wrong. Notions of valor especially, the war redefined those for me.
One of the most important things that the Kargil conflict taught me is that valor does not mean the absence of vulnerability. Before that, like everybody else, I too imagined soldiers to be fearless creatures. Then I met the men here, young men, boys who would be men really, mostly in their 20s. And I saw them handling their vulnerabilities with enormous courage.
Being here during the war changed me and my understanding of life in profound ways that I'm still trying to understand. So think what impact it must have had on someone whose brother was killed fighting.
I'll share a very personal incident. When I was young, when I was a school-going kid, I really used to get scared looking at a dead body, right? And but I don't know, I don't know what strength he gave me that, when his body came, so me and my brother-in-law were the first people to recognize the body, right? So, when we took him to the crematorium for his final rites, and when the body was taken out of the coffin and the tricolor along with his cap was handed over to mom, I took the body out of the coffin and I hold it in my hands. And that was the first cremation ever in my life. It was painful, Barkha. It was painful, and I don't know what strength, other gave me that, probably whatever fear I had for death, it went off.
You lost a brother.
I lost a brother and
And you lost your fear of death.
I lost my fear of death.
Is it been difficult to come here today? Emotionally?
To be emotionally, yes. But honestly, again, I would say I was looking it for the last 10 years. And I'm again proud and happy that I could make it. I should have done it, 9 years back, in fact.
What do you think Vikram's thinking today wherever he is? If he could hear you. Because twins have that thing, no? They can talk to each other always without words. I'm
sure you would be thinking that Kush is watching me from very nearby. Not being in Delhi, because during those days I was posted in Delhi. Yeah. So probably I'm sure he's looking at it, and could be I speak to him in my dreams tonight.
We hope you do. You feel closer to him. Yeah.
Some moments are simply wordless. We quietly hit the road again. We are headed now towards the post that came to define the entire war, Tiger Hill. Who was that general who joked? Would it still have caught public imagination in the same way had it been called, say, Rabbit Hill? I remember that night when we stumbled upon the fact that the Indian Army's assault on Tiger Hill was imminent. We'd formed a gang of 4, Jami behind the camera and Gaurav and Shashi, 4 reckless journalists who would stalk the highway every night. Our car would crawl through the darkness, the headlights switched off. Any light meant attracting the attention of enemy fire. We would huddle up at the back of the car seat and wait, sleeping very rarely. One such night, the sky suddenly lit up with a burst of orange. Flare guns being used by the intruders to try and spot Indian troops moving up the peak. The next day began the turning point in the war. The Air Force had already bombed Tiger Hill, softening it up for assault.
Perfect.
Then came the pounding of the Bofors. And finally, the breathtaking precision of the multi-barrel rocket launcher. What you see behind you are multi-barrel rocket launchers. They're going to target directly on top of Tiger Hills, and the role they play is to saturate the targets on top of Tiger Hills by dumping a very large amount of explosives onto the targets in a very short duration of time. The retaliation from Pakistan was immediate and lethal. As shells rained down on the highway, smoke clouds filled the air. Soldiers swung for cover, bodies collapsed in small heaps. We ran for our lives.
Oh, there was a flash. Go, run, 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 run.
Only to be pulled in for safety by a kind soldier to an underground bunker, with just enough time for one last phone call to the office.
Oh, company line dena jaldi se.
Hello? We launched multi-barrel rocket launcher attack in addition to the direct firing by Bofors guns. Oh my God. Hello? Okay, and we have launched at least 40 rounds of multi-barrel rocket launchers have been hit directly at the peak. We would spend the next 24 hours huddled up inside with men we'd never met before, but who swiftly felt like our closest friends. Outside, the burst of shells. Inside, old Hindi film music on a decrepit tape recorder.
Ask the question. We will repeat later.
I'm blanked.
You just saw this bombardment now. We are sitting here in this bunker. How does it feel?
Excellent.
You're all looking very calm and music playing in the background.
Actually, after all this time, it's been almost 1.5 months out here. So basically, we're more used to it by now. And it's been something that's presently on and off every day. So it's something that is not new to us.
But there's no element of fear ever, like today when we were standing, it seemed to have, the momentum seemed to have picked up quite a bit, from the counter bombardment from that side. Or is this usual? Is this normal?
It's normal, yeah.
It's normal for you?
Yeah, that's normal.
Is there ever, like, what goes through your mind at times like this? Do you think of back home, or, you know, what do you think of?
Yeah, actually, it's not a question of only me or him or any one soldier. It's a question of all of us who are deployed all here. Of course, as a human being nature, he has to think about his house. I think you were saying the same thing, and for my house first, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I think it gives the answer.
As you said about fear is something that is natural because we are all humans. But then after some time when we sit and realize the very basic nature, first reason why we are here is to overcome that. And it's for the, what I say is, it's call of the duty, the time.
But, you know, your friends, your colleagues, men on the top.
Yeah, actually before, when you go and face them, it's like kind of short movie, you know, which runs into your mind, and you see your childhood, your adulthood, and you remember your parents, all your loves and your fears, and then for a fraction of a second you say, no, I've got to overcome it, and then that's the thing that pushes you into the.
It's like your life passes you by in a flash.
Yeah, it's like that.
Those words stuck with me. Every time I thought of the war, I remembered the understated eloquence of that young man. 10 years later, I meet him again, Vishal Thapa. He and I look together for that bunker that marked that memorable night. We find it. The exact spot, in fact, where it once stood, at the old brigade headquarters, amid broken down hutments and walls that still bear the signs of war.
This is our bunker.
This was the bunker. Here was the bunker.
That night in the bunker, Vishal was all of 24. I was 26. We talk about how a decade has changed his understanding of what war really means.
Do you think people forget how ugly war can be, how cruel it can be? Do you think civilians don't understand that?
I won't really put it that way, Barkha. It's just that time along with itself puts many blankets on the memories, and life has to go on. You know? So a person who's not into army has to go about doing he's worried about his, let's start with all the sections of the society, rickshaw wale se lekar, you know, you have other officers,
No, but you know, people talk about war so loosely, people talk about war so easily, and people will say, oh, why don't we do this, why don't we go to war, why don't we do this? And I just feel that, I think soldiers who've experienced war probably understand what the cost of war is.
Okay, it would be politically incorrect, but I will say just this much that I don't think any soldier of any country would want a war by himself. It is the developments, the situations, economic or political or whatever. So basically, everybody is just following orders. You understand that?
So basically, no soldier, according to you, would want a war?
No.
What's your most vivid memory from that time? What's that one memory that you carry? You know that image, like you talk about the still photographs. What's that one photograph that never goes away?
It's not one single photograph, because after so much passage of time, but it is not one photograph or one event. It is like all clustered, mixed of thoughts. Like the scene that you see right now, this is how I remember Diwas for next 10 years, the unit location. And then the next thought goes on to Tiger Hill, the bombardment by the Bofors onto the Tiger Hill, bang at the top. Then is the MBRL firing on the Tolole. You've seen it yourself.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And then the smell of gunpowder constant gunpowder, constant shelling, moving.
What about the smell of death?
I don't think, personal view, that death has a smell. It just has an effect. I don't.
It has to have had some effect on you. Do you feel you're scarred in some ways, emotionally?
Coming from the profession, I would like to say that we kill by profession, not by choice, right? So if we kill someone, someone of us will also die. So it is part of the job, take it or leave it.
I think back to how we reported the war, whether modern technology would make it all different today. Whether being older would make it different as well.
Everybody always asks us, weren't you scared? The truth is, we never paused to think about whether we were scared or not. We just didn't have the time. The huge adrenaline rush of the situation we were in, the life and death risks, and even more mundane matters like how to get our footage back to Delhi kept us going minute to minute. The fear did come, but it came many, many months later.
But in the war zone, in the there and the now, there were no take-twos, just life lived in a stream of consciousness.
I think I simply didn't stop rolling. There was just this huge panorama of things happening around, and in a sense it was just going with the flow of whatever seemed to be right at that point in time. There was a lot which was happening. There was emotion, there was drama, there was sentiment, there was valor and vulnerability. There were faces, and faces that you remember. You remember the look in eyes of people who were almost on the cusp of life, between life and death, as it were. And there was the possibility of them maybe never coming back when they were marching off. And that is something which affected you powerfully.
Even 10 years on, Kargil remains for so many of us who were there, definitive, intensely emotional, and probably the toughest assignment we will still ever report on.
It was a strange mix of emotions, because when we got inside the bunker, we felt extraordinarily safe, But there was a sense of nervousness because shells were landing close, and the army officers were telling us, oh, this is not too far away, this is nearby, but nothing will happen. So there was a sense of safety in the bunker. There was obviously, kind of a nervous excitement because we just had a kind of brush with, a slice of the action.
Everything we felt was defined by the knowledge that the moment was all you had. When we discovered that the soldiers who had saved our lives by pulling us into the bunker were going up next for an assault, they were no longer just a story.
It was because that time, I don't think we were thinking of them as soldiers and us as journalists. That time, it was something, that was a moment where none of us knew whether we'd be alive the next morning or we'd be alive. Now, it is the folly of youth. You think you're invincible, but you were seeing people dying all around you. People who'd just gone up on peaks and their bodies came back, or on the wireless a message came back that they were grievously injured. So, yeah, giving Ajit my watch or telling him that I'll always, be in touch with his family, or, telling Barkha or Jami that, you'll always be very close. something of that sort, I don't think, except for war, those emotions ever come out again, because that's the time you don't know whether you will live to see the next sunrise.
It's time to say goodbye to our fellow travelers. Colonel Joshi, whose character was immortalized in the film LOC, has some somber words on life, death, and the reality of war.
Yeah, everybody is scared, you know. Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. You're trained to fight. But what happens in battle is when you go in for attack, nobody wants to buy a bullet, stop a bullet. So you're scared, the enemy is scared, you know, in your mind.
The enemy is also scared.
I'm sure. You know, you're going in for assault, he's scared that, you know, the enemy is coming in. Yeah. And it is just a question of who dares, you know. Who dares wins.
Vishal Batra, whom we leave to share a private moment with his brother Vikram. Vishal says he's going to write his brother one final letter in the shadow of the mountains he died on.
I love, I know you're watching me from the Batra top. You've become a legend and time immortal. Only a soldier with a brave heart like yours could climb up these icy peaks. I wish I could be there with you, on the top, but seeing you from here itself is a moment of pride for me, that you are the same blood I have. I know I took 10 long years to reach you here, but there haven't been a day ever in my life when you were not in my thoughts. You're my sole idol, who inspired me to move forward in my life. I still have all our childhood memories live and fresh in my mind, which gives me a reason to live along.
And Vishal Thapa, today an instructor at the Army's Mountaineering Institute, says he's teaching his young daughter how to love the mountains that took the life of so many of his friends.
Even with the war, you couldn't take your eyes off from the beauty. And is that something that you took away? Because you're saying you actually, the war in a sense, made you love the mountains even more. And there's a deep irony in it because you lost friends on those mountains. And yet you walked away loving the mountains, no?
Walked away loving the mountains, walked a whole lot of period on the mountains in between, and I am still walking on the mountains as the training officer with but mountains don't have any difference to any color, caste, creed, no Pakistan, no India. So it is there without any discrepancy or without any difference.
It's pure.
It's pure.
Pure, uncorrupted, treacherous, hostile, and beautiful. We leave our heads bowed in tribute to the men who died fighting here, but also with a prayer on our lips that the peace will hold and India will never see another war like Kargil.